Welcome, everyone. My name is Nichel Anderson. I'm your host for my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. This will be episode 30 for date for today, May the 28th, 2018. This will be my last show for my first season 1, 2017-2018, where I will therefore progress on to get into my summer break. And I will start publishing bi-weekly. So during the summer months, I decided to do like a bi-weekly type publication of my podcast episodes every 2 weeks. So after today, the next one will not be uploaded to probably the middle of June, the second week of June. And I believe that's June the 11th. But at any rate, this would be my last show for my first season, where I really took that plunge to take that step forward and try to expand more on my messages, the projects that I have done and will continue to do, and wanted to take that leap and have a more open platform that I can further explain my perspective, further help those that seek mental peace, to seek joy. So I'm very excited that I made it this far, uploading weekly episodes, which is not easy with my schedule. I really enjoyed this particular journey doing podcasts. I'm so blessed and happy that I got the opportunity and the means to do it, because it's not easy when you're juggling other things, but I'm glad that I committed to it and I got it done, right? And I learned some things of what I want to change next year. So this show was pretty much like a conversation. I did thought about having like a guest and promoting that, but to be honest, my schedule just wouldn't allow it. That does take some time to do that. So I'm going to talk about that and talk about today's topic. The focus is how to get your joy, which going along to what I was saying earlier, what brought me to do this podcast and my other podcasts, how to get your joy. That's the show topic for today as I conclude my season 1 podcast show, season 1, 2017-2018, for surviving your journey towards success. Let's get started. So in this day, I am thankful to the prime creator of all things, that I give thanks for the blessing and opportunity that I will use it for the greater good. So welcome, my survivors of the journey, to my podcast, ending my season 1 today, 2017-2018, that aims to inspire and motivate you, that you will continue to have joy, peace of mind, and what do I say, everybody? For your sustained success. And I like to put that, emphasize on that, because you want to sustain your success. You don't want to lose it. And sometimes we have those that kind of fall to the left or fall to the right. They forget how they got there and they lose their grounding. And so they fall as if falling down those stairs that got them to where they wanted to be. So it's a constant work at it. It's a constant nurturing as a farmer. You got to constantly work that soil, right? And you can't step away from that. And that goes into your joy. So I am just so excited that to share this moment with you as I get into this particular episode, where my goal is to highlight some ways that you can get your joy. Now, I know I mentioned this a lot in my previous episodes. I mentioned a lot when I tweet messages on my Twitter page, on my Facebook fan page. And it is important because joy is your happiness, and happiness is your ability to enjoy your life. If you don't enjoy your life, we could say, well, that's not a happy person, but it goes deeper than that. It's spiritual. And I try to balance that out because I know people that are listening to me is from different parts of the world. They have a different belief system. And I try to come to the table as we're coming to the table on a nice, beautiful Sunday in the afternoon. We're drinking tea or coffee, having a good lunch, and we're having an open conversation to get to the root of why the joy does not exist, right? The joy in our heart. And so today I want to focus on that. So the important point is having joy is the objective goal on your journey of life. Now, when I say that, basically what I'm saying is that you don't want to be consumed with stress that's unmanageable, of course, because that leads to your unhappiness. So in doing so, you have to monitor the stress level. That's a good indicator. Now, sometimes you don't even realize that you have high stress. Now, I did a podcast, and I'm trying to remember which one it was. I believe it was in the month of February when I did a whole month talking about corporate toxicity and how stress can be unseen, of course, but you don't really feel it, right? It doesn't show up that it's been damaging inside to years later. By then, it's almost too late, right? And then you have this problem and iteratus and ism, whether we put on the end of the word, I'm talking about in English, that shows that it's some type of issues going on that you have to fix. But also, it is the barometer measure of your mental peace. So it's a good thing to monitor that. And how can you monitor that? You need to take assessment of what is working for you. And you know what I'm going to share with you? It was a few years ago that I kind of realized that at the end of the year, when it's time for the new year, I noticed that a lot of things can happen in one year. So what I learned to do, as I always want to focus on time management, because you only have 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week, and it can go so fast. So I started monitoring the time that I spent either with other people or even some my personal time or what have you. And in the year, I also wanted to look at it as if I'm making sure that during the year, certain months is my checkpoint of what I have accomplished, what I need to do. And it also is a checkpoint to measure what I have done to nurture myself. And I'm talking about, again, in balance. I'm not talking about self worship. I'm not talking about consume of self, because I mean, who we kidding? That's unhealthy, right? But in the balance of self, as I have said before, everybody needs nourishment. If you're not nourished in your mental, in your spiritual, in your physical, not only you unhealthy, you not only you is toxicity, but the stress, again on that stress, it takes away from your ability to find the joy because you're completely out of whack. So what I normally do, as like in business, they have quarters, right? You have the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. And I just set myself goals of what I want to accomplish and what I want to measure of how I'm living my life. Of course, everybody want to have a good health. They want to be able to at least make a decent living, good food, and good friends and company. Now, most of us don't have all of those check marks, right? And that's fine. Because when you have your inner joy, you hear me, right? It doesn't matter how many you have of this or that. You know, you just need to survive. That's your nourishment. So you have to always measure your stress. If you're in an environment that is highly stressful and you see the signs of that you have to, I don't know, take some of this or do some of that to manage the stress, you basically need to get out of there, because within a year, all of that would come to full circle. Don't you remember that after the year you go back and you look like, gosh, this happened, that happened, that happened, this, that didn't happen. It's so much to talk about, because there's a lot of time to be able to get certain things that you need to get done, and to within that to measure your stress level. So within the year, at least to me, I do mainly, I half it up in half of the year. So I do 2 quarters at a time, pretty much in the 6 months, the middle in the summertime. And then I come back by the time summertime, I give myself another 3 months, measure it. And then by then I can know if I need to don't be walking anymore, or maybe don't be jogging, but I need to do, or maybe do a marathon, or maybe I need to up my speed on some things to accomplish that before the last day of the year, December the 31st. So I kind of give myself that barometer of a measure mid-year, and then I continue to monitor that every 3 months until I'm near the end, when I know what I can do. And I remember one year, it was so much stuff I had to do. I literally wrote a list, and for the next, I think 45 days or so, I knocked it. I think I knocked everything out except one thing I just had to push over to the following year, but I got it done. Now, I'm not saying this is good for everybody. The takeaways from this is that your joy is your mental peace, and having joy in your heart gives you the happiness that you seek in life. So you have to take the time to analyze what you need to get done that brings you happiness, right? What you need to do or say to someone or yourself to clear that out. So you got to make a list and look at the things that are bringing you either no stress or is bringing you a lot of stress. Now, if it's the job, that's kind of difficult. I talked about that in my previous episodes when I talk about corporate life and so forth, and you got to measure that out. I encourage you to look into those podcast episodes when I'm talking about like corporate toxicity and how you can, be a part of a good team and so forth. But you got to take a look at that and you got to measure it so you could be able to further yourself forward, that you can find the joy that you see, because it is possible. But some of the things, and I would say most of the things, you have to let go. Life is made up of seasons, and those are the times that you have to, just like a farmer, you have to either keep some of this or you got to get rid of it and bring a new. So the wisdom point from that is that you got to define your worth. Defining your worth will make sure you will keep that stress in check. I'm going to repeat that. Defining your worth is a way that you can keep that stress into check. Because if you don't, you won't have joy. So that's how you can be able to get the joy and keep your success. Defining your worth is the framework to assure that you get your genuine joy, because you will know it when you need to change course when you need to, because you're saying, I'm not going to put up with that. My worth is better than that. I deserve better. To something that feeds you. Distractions of attraction, things that you can look at and participate in, it don't last, do it? So you want to get the full, you want to get all of it, okay? That produces your true joy. So you got to look at your life and understand what makes you happy and what doesn't. If it doesn't make you happy, you have to reduce it. Measure, come back and measure. Like I say, what I do, I give myself mid-year, but I take a look to see what's working, what's not, and then I give myself another 3 months. That's pretty much in September, and I take a look again and I see what's going on, and then I take the last few months and really narrow down on what I want to accomplish or what I want to experience, what I want to learn. If it's something new that I want to learn, like I do want to learn another language. So that's what I do for me. You got to find yourself. Use that year, that 12 months, not just another year passing by, okay? Those times is gone. Now you have to take charge of your life. And sometimes, I'm telling you, you have to fight for your joy, because there's so many distractions that are attractive to get into. And then you look back and the year passed, you're like, oh my gosh, what deal with this feeling of not feeling fulfilled, when you could took that opportunity and get your joy. But you got to look at your life and see what's working, what's not. Now, why is this important? Why do you want genuine joy? Well, obstacles, can be more bigger when you're trying to get the big one, right? When you're trying to get the ultimate experience in life, and that's joy, than it normally do. Okay, and pretty much that's an inner imbalance. Sometimes that EP is keeping you from getting your joy. And EP, as people has been following me, that's just abbreviated to me emotional pain, and that goes deep. So if you want to look more into that, check my podcast episode 8. Okay, why emotional pain comes up, requiring acceptance. Pretty much check episode 8 if I got the title for you, how I said it. But pretty much episode 8 and episode 9, season 1 this year. Now, pretty much going back to wisdom point 1, defining your worth is the framework to assure that you get your genuine joy, because you would know it when you need it the most, and it's there. It will sustain you. And also it will let you know when you need to change course to something that actually feeds your soul, feeds your spirit, right? Brings your greater good out, that produces you good joy, okay, in your heart. So why is this important? Well, it's important because if not, anything that's negative doesn't really produce much, and it definitely don't produce nourishment. Joy is satisfaction to life, that you understand it, that you accept it, and that you can move on. Is just what it is. So the obstacles that come up to prevent you to do it are just waves in the river that will pass over time. And when I say obstacles, I'm meaning your opposition. It can be through people. It can be through circumstances that you don't see, but you feel it. And it might attach itself to things that it might be very painful. So you have to find a way out of that. And to find a way out of that, you got to, I like to say old school, you got to write it out. What's working, what's not. Should I move because this is no longer the place for me? Should I get another job? Is that what I need to do? That's what you have to do. So joy sustains your mental capacity. Now, who I'm really talking about? Well, the people that really need to search and find their inner peace and find something that works for them. Because those that has no joy is, they're not happy, of course, and they're awful to be around with, for one, because they're so miserable, and most of them want everybody else to be miserable, and their whole spirit makes you down and sorrowful, right? And it's even, you get into all types of mess just being in that mix, right? So you got to seek the joy in the people that wants the same thing that you. Now, of course, you're going to run into those, and it happens, but when you have a general way to be able to tap into your inner peace and your joy and what makes you happy, you know how to get out of that, right? You know how to fix the things, right, that you know that's either your stuff or it's not, and move on, right? And you know that you are humbly enough to be able to ask for help when you try to find it, you try to get it, right? Because your joy is at stake. That's what makes you have the courage to keep going. If you're happy and you're miserable, or you don't have that genuine joy and that peace of mind, you feel like it's no effort. And when you get into that, you get into a road that there's no light at the end of that tunnel. So I feel that my purpose is to explain it how my perspective is, but to have an open mind that everybody has a different belief, but to see from my writing going forward of how I can inspire and motivate you to look at it differently, to get the hope that you see. Because I do know, and I'm a witness to it, there is hope. You just don't see it. You just can't believe that you can probably feel the happiness and the joy in your heart, but I'm telling you, you can. I'm telling you, it does exist. So, what are some other ways to find and keep your joy, as I previously mentioned? But you also got to do this to be able to find it and keep it. You got to think about what you do have in your life to the tiniest thing. That's what I do. When that Mr. Fear sent depression and all of that crazy crap, I just sat there and just wrote a list of things that made it put a smile on my face, made me thankful. And I'm pretty sure you heard this before, but it works. You got to list the things from the tiniest thing. I can move my fingers. I can blink my eye. I can actually feed myself, or I can feed someone else. Those little things, and it builds up until you be humble and excited about what you can do and what you do have. And that means your life does matter, because guess what? You matter. Okay? Nobody else did say it, I said it. Because you do. And we live in the world that most of those create an environment to make us feel that we don't matter, that what we say or do is just insignificant. And I'm telling you, as my last show on my season 1, that's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. A lie. The truth is that you do matter. And that's why you're here. You do have a purpose. So the strategies for you to succeed, right? You want to start by assessing how you benefit in your own life, how you contribute. You want to look at that in a way so you can focus on what you can do, not what you can't do. And if you're anybody like most of us, growing up or whatever, or any type of experience, or you worked here or worked there, they always want to hone on the negative, what you can't do, and not looking at what you can do and show appreciation of that. So that's what you got to do for yourself. And so when someone else doesn't do it, it doesn't matter, because you're doing it for yourself, and that's your joy right over the horizon. All right? You don't want to use or any other substance to give you a false sense of joy when it's already in your heart. Joy, actually, being joyful, is embedded in your heart, and it taps into your mind. And then your mind automatically gets into that gear of knowing this is my worth. That just came to me. Ha! Woo! I really need to sometimes get me a little pad here with these things coming to me, because that's a good quote right there. The joy is in your heart. It is embedded in that. It is rooted in that. It's a blessing. And your joy, when you have that joyful in your life, it taps into your mind, and your mind recognizes that level of joy, that joyfulness, and it shifts into the gear of life, and it defines your worth. You can walk in the room and no one will even know you, but they feel it and they see it. Not see it in a physical sense. I would say in a spiritual sense. It's as if they see your worth. Because also when your mind shifts into your gear and you have a different way how you walk, you don't even know you're walking differently, but your mind is in the driving mode. It also automatically increases your courage. And I talked about that. Courage, you got to have courage, because if not, you will be fearful to follow anything that is for your greater good. You hear me on this? That's important. And if anybody that you're around, that you sit down in the middle, whatever you pick, what month of the year, that's your recharge month, that's your analyzing month, like I do. Like I say, I do it in the middle of the year, mid-year, and then I check myself 3 months later before the end of the year. You pick a month, but you pick a month that you self-analyze your life, okay? And you realize who is even giving you courage or taking your courage away. You got to eliminate that, especially as you're getting older, right? If you're in your 20s, you're still young, you still need to be doing this, right? Get in your 30s, still need to be on the game. When you're in your 40s and 50s and whatever onward, you need to be on this like a professor. You hear me? Right? So you want to be able to be on top of that. Don't think that because I'm so young, got everything ahead of me. Tell you make bad decisions take a while to get out of. And if the person is around you, they ain't feeding you and nourishing you, you need to get out now, not later. Trust me, use those extra years to be doing something else that's more happy, because you don't want to get into that. So it all comes around into the circle of life. And I hope you got that message. What just came to me to just say it live, because I am recording this live. You're going to actually get it on May 28th, right? But I'm doing it live. So it just came to me to break that down, to connect with you, to connect the dots, because it is important and it does matter, and you do matter. But you have to put the effort in, connect the dots, and you will get it. Because courage is the most important thing that just blooms around you, and you should attract those that are on the same wavelength or might need you to nurture them and lead them to where they need to be. That's the circle of life. That is happiness. That is joy. Joyfulness in your heart, and that's what you got to do. So let me just break it down in this, where your task to dusk to dawn is that you got to get a good journal, or maybe use one these smartphones right now. You can use that to type it. I like old school, a pen and a paper. But you could do, use whatever you need to use to jot down the things that you did do, small or whatever. Jot down the things that you need to work on, something that involves somebody else, that you might have that conversation with them, or you might have to really consider that maybe our season is over. And you got to get busy. You got to get busy with something that you like doing, that you really enjoy doing. People tell you that you're good at it. I've said this before, but you got to get busy, because that keeps Mr. Doubt far, far away. That has been dispatched by Mr. Fear. See, Mr. Fear attacked your courage, and if he's successful, that's the balance of your worth. Remember, Mr. Fear only wins when you give up. You give up when you don't really believe that you can do it, that you can believe you can get it, that you believe that you are worthy. See, now to tap into the mind and to the heart. I went that fast, just breaking that down, and just replay what I just said. Okay? That's how he wins. And when he's running off, winning, guess what he got at his bag? Your joy, your happiness, your mental peace. Ha ha! Mm-mm. As one of my mentors said, that dog don't hunt. Meaning that uh, that's not going to play here. Not today. And that's what you got to say. Sometimes, for most of us, you have to fight for your happiness. And you got to say, I deserve it. And you got to keep going at it. And that's my task to dusk to dawn. And my motivational takeaway for you for my last show of my season 1, which I will be back in 2 weeks, just uploading some short clips, some short episodes during the summer. So don't stop tuning in. but I will be uploading pretty much 2 times a month instead of weekly. And my show returns back in September of the year. So pretty much I start my show in September, I decided, and then I end it in the month of May the following year. So 2018, 2019 would start this September, and that's when I would go back and do my weekly shows. Now, I have decided, as I mentioned in my other podcast, that I might do that for one more year, do weekly shows. I'm still debating about it. That I might go to bi-weekly for thereafter, mainly because I want to get back into my theatrical productions, like do some of that on the side. I love writing, I love producing as well, and I love teaching because I have classes that I teach that people probably know by now that's been following me, and I do consultation. But I also love the extension of writing, and doing those productions does take a lot of effort and focus, especially marketing it. And so I have thought about my third year is to go bi-weekly. So I'm kind of putting it out there. I don't know if I will, so I haven't decided yet. And I actually didn't maybe release maybe a bonus episode, during the month. So anyway, it's just up in the air. I don't know. I want to see, because my whole goal is to make sure that I'm delivering weekly as I committed to, or whatever frequency that I decide to do, and whatever I say is going to be this on this day and this time, that's my commitment. That's what I care about. I want to make sure I'm able to do it. So I don't want to have too much on my plate that I can't commit to that, and then it's not uploaded or it's not available. And I know that people are tuning in because they need that mental feeding for them, and that motivation. They need that inspiration. And I think that's my purpose. Part of my purpose writing and expanding into this. So I want to make sure I'm there for them because it was people there for me that I really appreciated. That's what I want to do. So I'm just going to make sure to see if I can sustain the weekly, my third year. My second year will be still weekly. I committed to that. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. But my third year is kind of up in the air, but I will talk about that later. But anyway, my motivational takeaway for you is joy is one of the keys to a good life. Seek it and allow the change needed within to bring you your mental peace. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. I see so many people all over the world tuning into my podcast, my first year, and I'm very excited. Past year, I got so many hits to my podcast and so many people following me. I'm so grateful for that and my stats, and I'm just really, really thankful. So thank you so much. Please stay tuned for my summer break when I still release it episodes, and please turn into when my show returns next fall, that I hope to have more interviews from different people from different backgrounds to share their knowledge with my listeners. So thank you so much. Have a great summer. Bye bye. See you. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today in my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. I also want to go over a few things just so we can continue to stay in contact. The first thing is that, just to let you know, I do provide career consultation. It's offering for the first 30 minutes is free. After that, it do adjust depending on your actual need. But if it's an emergency, just go ahead and you can request an initial consultation, which is free, of course. You can contact me by my email, which is info@nichelanderson.com. Now, also, I do have like a 1-800 free numbers if you're calling like outside of the United States, but mainly that is for when I do my free webinars, okay? So I'm not connected to the webinar call-in number unless I'm doing a free event, and I usually advertise that or promote that, I should say, weeks in advance. So if I'm not promoting that I'm doing a free webinar, then those numbers are not being used. I'm not tied to that. Now, I might consider to have a 1-800 number, but for the most part right now it's just going to be my email address. So if you have any questions or concern, you can definitely go ahead and reach out to me by my email address. Now, I also want to let you know that I do provide business courses and self-improvement courses as well that overall deals with strategy and, of course, motivating you so you can keep your joy or get your joy and mental peace that leads you to your success while you're on your journey. Now, those courses are normally available in 1 through mid-late spring of the year, and then again in the fall. I will usually go ahead and post that on the home page of my official website, nichelanderson.com. If you have any questions or trying to figure out exactly how to sign up for the courses, go ahead and drop me an email, info@nichelanderson.com, and I will gladly respond back to you personally to answer any of your questions regarding the courses that you're thinking of signing up for. And those courses again are usually around about 2 or 3 that I release a year, and again it's doing 2 times a year, the spring and the fall. In the future I might do summer courses that I am releasing as well. And then finally, I just want to do a special call out. I really want to connect with the people that are following me. And to do that, I definitely would love to be able to send out a newsletter. So with that, of course, you have to sign up by providing your email address. So you should see a link in the bottom of this description. Pretty much on every episode, you will find a link to sign up. Now, it will either say, sign up here for Nichel E-List Tips newsletter. You'll click that. It'll take you to a page that is secured for you to go ahead and type in your email address, and then I will get that and see that you are to be included. It will not be spam. I will not hound you with 4 or 5 newsletters every day or other emails sent to you, because pretty much I have a busy schedule and I want to make sure that I'm delivering the quality content that you will be most interested in. Now, also you can visit my website, my official website, Nichel Anderson, and you can click where it says contact, and you will see it gives you that option to sign up to my newsletter. And again, that website direct link will be in this description, which is basically nichelanderson.com/sign-up-to-newsletter. But again, I will have all of that in the description. So don't forget to do that. In a sense, just if you want to stay connected with me to get some updates or what have you, new information, special events that I'm doing, and stay connected with me, join my newsletter. I'm really trying to get that to a point that I can be able to quickly update the people that is following me more quicker than my regular releases of my episodes or what have you, my podcast, or any other special projects that I'm doing. Now, also don't forget to subscribe to my podcast here, which is nichel7.podbean.com, and you can connect with that on iTunes. I am on iTunes, and you can do that right on my podcast homepage here at Podbean or at the Apple Store. I'm also on Google Play and, of course, any other type of directories that you can be able to find. I am learning that people are actually adding this podcast and my other podcast show to the directories as well. All right, so don't forget to follow me on social media. My official website is nichelanderson.com, as I mentioned earlier. Please follow me on Twitter. Now I'm very active on Twitter. Usually I will post new thing, not a lot, but at any rate I am drop some motivational quotes. I do that on Twitter, and that Twitter page is twitter.com/Nichel Anderson. I also have a Facebook page, that is facebook.com/Nichel Anderson fan page. So also you can find this show notes. My show notes will be listed on the home page here on Podbean. You will see that to the left. You will click that and it will give you future shows that are to be released to give you a heads up of what's coming next. Also, I want to go ahead and let you know that you can purchase my Corporate America book, Surviving Your Journey to Success. It is available on Amazon or any other bookstore that you might be interested in purchasing through. So, just to recap and to wrap this up, my podcasts are released every Monday by 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And then guest interviews that when I do have them, I will pre-announce that of who will be the guests, as well as you can apply to be a guest by filling out the guest application form. You will find that on the left side of the menu on my homepage here at Podbean. Okay, you just go to NichelAnderson7.podbean.com and you will see a direct link to that guest speaker application. You will fill that out. It normally takes me 48 to 72 hours or less to review that, and then if I see if it's a good fit, then I will respond in that sense so that you know where we're at in that process. So consider that. If you have any questions, I want to say during my podcast, I also want to encourage you to go ahead and just send me an email, and I can answer that on my next episode. So what have you, and I definitely will respond back that I got it. Okay. So just to kind of recap about my podcast here, how it releases new content every Monday by 10 a.m. Also share with you that my podcasts here now have started offering the ability to get my premium content from my other podcast show, Nichel Anderson Short Stories and Beyond, that patron program where you have access to the full short stories because I love writing stories. It's one of my favorite things to do, and plus it's coming from my passion and my purpose of writing and motivating through my writing. So at any rate, go ahead and check that out. So how to get to that is basically on the left side of the menu at NichelAnderson7.podbean.com. You will see that ability where it says you will see premium content plans. And from there, you'll click on that and it will list the different options that you can sign up for. I am providing a few days of a free trial so you can sign up that way, and you will get the access to the content before you commit to actually subscribe. So it's a great way to get this extra premium content from my other podcast show, all in one little place here at my podcast at Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. So go ahead and try that out. And then if you really like it, you can even consider going to my Patreon page. That's patreon.com, where you actually get rewards for joining through that portal. All right, so just go ahead and consider that. So this concludes my podcast show today. I hope you enjoyed this broadcast. Please again follow me on social media. Again, my website, NichelAnderson.com. I'm on Twitter, twitter.com/Nichel Anderson, and facebook.com/Nichel Anderson fan page. So I want to go ahead and leave you with my motivational takeaway for you. Continue for your encouragement, and that is be you that strengthens and inspires your ability to be strong in your journey endeavor. It's a good thing towards your mental peace and joy, always to your success.